April is my birthday month, and that is also the month that I indulge into reading the books that I love to read most, vampire books. So for today's video, I will be diving in all of the vampire books that I read during the month of April. Hi and welcome back, my fellow fantasy book lovers, or if you're new here, hi and welcome. My name is Kathy and I'm a fantasy book lover from Belgium. For today's video, I'm talking about all of the books that I read during the month of April, but I want to start with the only book that I DNF'd. And this was unfortunately also the book that I decided to pick for the book club, and it was Anno Dracula by Kim Newman. Now, when I started reading this book, I had very high hopes for it. It is a book that a lot of you also wanted to read or hoped to read, and that I have seen around everywhere. It has this very pretty special edition. There is an intro word by an author that I will not be reading from. But yeah, this book got me intrigued, and it is supposedly like what comes after Dracula. Now, when I started reading this book, I immediately from chapter 1 got Jack the Ripper vibes. It's the exact same tone setting, the exact same like gore and horror parts, but then with vampires included. And it's unfortunately not for me at all. I like to read fantasy, I like to read fantasy romance, I like my dark fantasies, but I don't just like horror or thriller or retellings of something that I don't really care for in the first place. So I DNF'd Anno Dracula. The book simply wasn't for me. I think if you like the more Jack the Ripper, Sweeney Todd vibes of books, then this might be for you, but unfortunately it did not work for me. And that also means that I'm going to get rid of this beautiful edition of the book. I know there will be someone who will like it, but it's just unfortunately not for me. Then we get to the book that I actually read. Up first is Immortal Dark by Tigest Girma, and this is a beautiful book. This book visually is beautiful. It has the beautiful spray painted edges, the different designs. It has really pretty inlays and cover art. I'm trying to get my cover off of it so you can see it. And this is actually the cover of a book that is referenced in this book. So once you read it, you will know what the second cover, so the inside cover, is about. And I feel like Alcrate did exceptionally well on this special edition. I love it. However, the book itself for me was a 3 stars. We start by following one of 2 sisters. They belong to this family that is somehow related to a vampire school or a school for humans with magical abilities and vampires, but they have been kept away from this school for a certain reason. Now, at the start of the book, we only follow one of the 2 sisters because the second sister has been kidnapped, has been taken away because they are coming of age that they can claim their heritage and claim their like house and everything within this community. So the sister that we keep on following has done something dark in her past, not so far away past. It's actually quite recent that she has done something like really like harsh. You will know it when you read it. And she is struggling with this. She's also struggling finding her sister. And while she is struggling to find her sister, she is actually pushed into coming into this school to claim the house as hers because she is like the firstborn of the sisters, and to like continue their lineage in this society. Otherwise, one of their vampire servants of their family who still lives in the house will take it over. So we very fast get introduced to our, what I'm gonna call, secondary main character. I feel like he is part of the main characters, but it's kind of like we follow the girl mainly, but this character becomes more and more present the farther along you go in the book. So we follow this vampire character as well. They don't get along. The house has a lot of troubles. And I felt like this book was well written, but we just kept going back and forth and back and forth. And we do make some progress in the story, but I feel like for how many pages it was to end where it ended and what it ended with, I just didn't feel satisfied at all. So I will probably continue reading the series when the second book comes, but the second book is really going to be a deciding factor whether I will be continuing this series or not. I love the cover art of the book. I think it's beautiful. But for the story itself, I felt kind of disappointed because I had a little bit higher expectations, because when you see, like, there's so many beautiful editions. Like I have this one, I ordered one through Illumicrate or Fairy Loot, I think as well, that I'm currently selling because I don't need 2 editions of a book that I think I give 3 stars. Like, I wanted to love this book so bad, So this book definitely has a dark academia setting, as our main character is taken into this school and she needs to like pass certain classes in order to like maintain her family heritage and the house that she lives in, etc. So there is a bit of like, I would feel like, looking back on it, that she would feel more pressure by all of this, but at some points I feel like she's just looking for her sister and like everything else is a side quest. But hey, that's the feeling that I got from this book. It is very well written. It has, I believe, only black skin colored like characters in it. So they have their beautiful hairstyles and the braids and the afros and everything. So know that going into this book, that it's not like based on white people like most books do. And I actually quite liked that diversity in this book. So that was a big plus for me on this book. What I didn't like was the interactions between some of the characters. Like, I wanted to root for our main character, who's definitely flawed, but at some points I just felt annoyed and I understood the vampire character more than I did her. So if you have this book on your shelves, I would definitely try and read it. If you don't, I personally wouldn't go out of my way to purchase it until maybe more people have read book 2, whenever that comes out, so you know how the story continues. I will, of course, be reading book 2 from this series whenever it comes out, because I want to know how it continues. But it's not the best vampire read I've had in my hands. Up next, we get into a totally different type of vampire books. This is definitely romantasy, fantasy romance, or just romance, but then in a paranormal setting. In this book, A Hunger Like No Other by Kresley, I actually forgot that I read this book, and from the top of my mind, right now, I cannot tell you a single thing about this book. That's how memorable it was to me. And I personally use books like these as palate cleansers in between like bigger worlds and bigger books and books that have more like intricate settings, just to clear my mind. So I just reread the back of the book, and we have this vampire or half vampire, you'll find out more about it later in the book, Emmeline, who's traveling through Paris. When she walks through Paris, there is this werewolf or lichen or whatever you want to call it, who smells her, and he knows that she is his like mate. And he sets free from where he's being held captive to like find her. They find each other, they have this push and pull connection between them. He's trying to like be around her, but not like force her to be with him. And she doesn't understand what mates are yet, because she doesn't know the concept, or she has never actually met someone who has their mate, etc. So it's like, this is romantasy, this is fluffy, this has a lot of sexual scenes. So if you're into that, if you like that, then this book might be perfect for you. I liked the fact that this is a fantasy romance setting. I don't like just romance books. I find just romance book a little bit boring. So the fact for me that this was vampire and then lichen was more interesting. And the thing is about this book that I quite enjoyed it when I read it, but I don't think it's the best book ever. So if you want a smutty vampire werewolf romance book, then this might be for you. It is set in a contemporary world setting like it is now. So there's cars, there's buildings. It's like a little bit more normal than some of the medieval fantasies that you read. And yeah, I quite like this. I don't have any strong feelings about it. Honestly, I forgot about this book. That's how memorable it was to me. But I remember that it was a fun read whenever I read it, and I gave this a 3 stars. And finally, 2 very good vampire-themed books. This is the Vampiria series by Victor Dixen. Victor Dixen is a French author, and he's very, very big in France and in other French-speaking parts of the world. And now his Vampiria series is finally being translated. Now, I prefer to read in English. However, I could technically read in French because I was raised in French as well. So French, Dutch, and English. So the Vampiria series consists of different trilogies. For now, only book 1 and book 2 have been translated to English. I cannot wait for book 3 to be released because I am really enjoying them. The first book is The Court of Shadows, and we start in a tiny village on the outskirts, like even further away from Paris, so definitely not Versailles where we are going to. And in this reign, Louis XIV, I believe, has been immortalized as a vampire. He wears a golden mask to hide his features because, like, when you transform into a vampire, you either stay beautiful, or if you already have damage, you might, like, look even more terrible. So he's constantly wearing a mask. He is the king of the shadows. He is, like, the supreme reigner of everything. And in this world building, we have a reign of vampires. So Louis XIV has been turned into a vampire of his own will because he wants to be more powerful and reign over everyone. He calls himself the Sun King. He has a golden mask. He lives in Versailles. He has a court. So if you look at the tiers of like people reigning, you first have vampires, of course. They are the top tier, but they are kept into a small enough amount that the humans can provide enough blood for said vampires. Then you have like a middle class, which is like the low tier vampires, and I believe the upper echelons of like humans, like lords, etc. don't have to give blood. And then you have the low class, the normal humans. The main character we follow is part of these normal humans at the start of the book, and her family is eating dinner as they are being approached by kind of royal guards, is the best way to put it, because they believe they are part of a certain resistance system. They kill almost all of her family, but she manages to escape together with her brother, and they run off to the local like baron's castle, keep, whatever you want to call it, because her brother has secretly been seeing the daughter of said baron, and they hide there. Now, of course, they get tracked by one of the vampires who's part of this like hunting party trying to chase them. And something happens to our main character that she is taken to like the Grande Écurie. So it's where the nobility is raised to become part of the court. So it's full of like younger people, age 17, 18, 19, I believe is more or less. And that is the age that our main character has. She's a girl who grew up in this family. So it's always like a wild child, going into forest, climbing trees, doing things that she maybe shouldn't do. But in this Grande Écurie, it actually helps her out because you can teach her how to hold a fork properly, but teaching combat skills in a short amount of time turns out to be more difficult for some. So she's very happy. She's like in this second year of the 3 years that there is, because it's based on age. And a lot of things start to unfold there because her family was actually killed by the royal guard. She now wants to take vengeance upon like this entire court. And that is what happens into Court of Shadows. We follow how she becomes a part of this elite group of chosen ones that are able to follow this training and to maybe someday get approved into court. There are trials in it that I personally liked, but I also didn't love them. And then a lot of side characters get introduced. I loved The Court of Shadows. The Court of Shadows was the book that I wanted to read for a very long time. And this book has been on my shelves for over a year. And I'm so glad I finally read it because it was better than I even hoped it to be. Now, right after Court of Shadows comes Court of Miracles. I found this similar to book one, but weaker. I found a bunch of the revelations in this book unnecessary, and I don't know why they were made. There was also a slight introduction of technologies that I personally didn't need to see in these books. So I'm not sure what will happen, how this series will continue. I gave the first book, so The Court of Shadows, 4 stars because I loved it, but it wasn't like Empire of the Vampire. Empire of the Vampire is what I compare my 5-star reads to. So 4 stars for this one, and then 3 stars for Court of Miracles. It definitely felt like a middle book, and I know it's a trilogy. Well, there's even more books in the trilogy, but it's like a completed trilogy already. I'm curious how book 3 is, if this sets up for certain things that we need in book 3, because right now it just felt meh. So I didn't hate it because it continued on the same world building that I really loved from book 1, but I just felt not a lot happened. Well, a lot happened, but also not a lot happened. So if you are looking into a very dramatic vampire series that is already finished, if you read in French, you can already read all of them. If you read in English, you will have to wait, like me, for the translation of book 3 of this series. There are even more books than the 3, I am well aware, but the original trilogy is being translated as we speak. There is no set date for book 3, but I hope it will be very, very soon. This has all the things that I like. The vampires are kind of evil, but also not. There is this like very big grandeur about things. There are palaces, there is like the pretty dresses, the hairdos, everything. I really loved these. So honestly, I could highly recommend these. If you only decide to read one book from this entire video, then I would personally pick up Court of Shadows or A Hunger Like No Other, because if you're into fluffy romantasy with smut, that could be a very good read as well. So these were all of the books that I read during the month of April, and all of them had vampires in them. So feel free to let me know in the comments down below which books that you read during the month of April that you find worth sharing, or what vampire books have you read recently that you really loved. I would love to know. If you enjoyed this video, of course, feel free to give it a big thumbs up. And of course, if you haven't already and you'd like to be, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I make new videos every week, and I would love to have you for every single one of them. Thank you so much for watching, and happy reading. Bye!